This morning I'm presenting you with a question that is in need of an answer. How much free will do we really have when God wills reigns? I ask this because in the past few weeks I have heard more than 3 people state that their life is in the hands of God, that God will decide what the outcome of a certain situation will be, or that they were waiting for God to give them the answer to a specific question. Whenever I have a pattern of 3 events happening in my life, I know that I need to pay attention. This is a message hidden in here for me or others that I connect with. And so I was inspired to give this talk this morning on the will of God, how it affects us and what it really means. Let us start by defining who God, or the divine, or source, is and who are we. Divine essence is high-frequency electromagnetic energy called consciousness, which constitutes our basic reality that gives rise to matter. God is everywhere and in everything. God is the beginning and the end, the Alpha and the Omega, the circle of life. Everything is connected and everything is in the process of change, expanding to a greater and a grander version of themselves. In the harmonious state of being, where light, love, truth, and wisdom reigns, everything is in perfect balance. Everything is just as it's supposed to be. Everything is vibrating to the rhythm of the beat of God's heart. So where does my free will come into play? Or am I left to fate and destiny, a victim of my circumstances? This complex theme is best explained using the following metaphor. If you take a rock and you grind it to fine sand, you know that each of the sand particles will contain the same properties as the original rock. If the rock was light, love, truth, and wisdom, for instance, it is obvious that the sand particles will also be light, love, truth, and wisdom. If we take God to be the rock and mankind, nature, and animal, and the plant kingdom to be the sand, we will come to realize that God is within us and we are in God, and that we are all connected, coming from the same source. Being pure consciousness with a mind of his own, God wills to express his true nature for all of us to see. God cannot be separated from his will because he is true to himself. And because he is light, love, truth, and wisdom, and wills to express this constantly, he is infinite and has no boundaries. He is constantly expanding to a greater and a grander version of himself, but diligently sticks to the original blueprint of his true nature. This energy of consciousness exists long before matter is created, and all plants, animals, and humans have this energy. For the purpose of our talk this morning, we will only focus on the human energy. The human energy field, or aura, provides the matrix structures on which all cells grow. And there are 7 layers in the human energy field surrounding the physical body. And to save on time, we will only be focusing on the necessary levels concerned. Now, the first level of the human energy field is easily seen as a thin blue line on the outline of the body. The more you are connected to your body and take care of it, exercise, the stronger and more developed the first level of this field is, and the healthier you are. The opposite is also true. The more you neglect your body, the more ill you become. The 5th level of the human energy field is where the divine will lies. When you perceive this level, it appears as if everything there is in reverse, almost like the blueprint or the negative of a photograph. The 5th level holds the first level of the human energy field in place. The fifth level appears to be an empty space of cobalt blue light, which bleeds down into the first level. Therefore, divine will exists within us and all around us. That is who we truly are. But we are not forced to align ourselves with the energy of divine will. We all have the freedom of choice to align ourselves with this energy or not. If we do, we create harmony, health, and happiness within us. If we choose not to align with divine will, we will experience being unharmonious, diseased, and distressed. Divine will is the template or pattern for the great evolutionary plan of humanity and the universe. It is alive and pulsating and constantly unfolding. Between the fifth and the first level of the human energy fields lies the fields relating to our emotions, our thoughts, and our relationships with others. Now just imagine for a moment the blueprint negative is developed into a photograph. When the picture is small, the detail is not easily seen. But as the photograph is enlarged, one will see that the picture actually consists of a vast number of small dots we call pixels. The more pixels that make up the photograph, the better the quality of the photograph. All this is created in the presence of the negative blueprint. If the photograph would be enlarged but the pixels not increased in size, the overall quality of the picture would be poor and the detail will be blurry. These pixels can be compared to our actions that we do with our physical body from moment to moment. These actions are directly influenced by our emotions, thoughts, and relationships with others. So whilst I am co-creating with God on this masterpiece called life, I am given free will to decide how and where I will be adding pixels to the sacred photograph. Will I follow the blueprint design of light, love, truth, and wisdom? Or will I deviate to create areas within this picture that is colored in fear, hatred, and denial, and that do not fit in the bigger, grander version as prescribed by the blueprint? It takes faith, that is, believing in something to be true which you cannot yet see, to follow the blueprint of divine will. Because we have no guarantee of the outcome, and in many instances have no idea where we are heading. Luckily, we have divine guidance to assist us, but that is a talk for a different time. Divine will is often misunderstood and often misused. The religious way of experiencing divine will is an authority issue where we imagine God's will is opposed to our will. We have the idea that we must defy God's will in order to be free. But we are given a free will to choose. So here we have a catch-22 situation. We have free will, but if we don't choose God's will, then we are in trouble. So we imagine God's will is something to be feared and that we will be punished if we choose wrong. We say to ourselves, maybe we won't be punished so badly if we don't know what God's will is. So we choose to steer away from knowing what it is. Under the religious use of divine will, we often attach ourselves to painful situations by saying that there is nothing I can do to change God's will, so I must just accept my fate. This takes away my responsibility to choose to do something about the painful situation, and I am a victim of my circumstances. Divine will can become the waste bin for everything that we have difficulty understanding in religion. It becomes a tool to control people with the idea that only a few know what is really God's will. These people are usually the clergy of the church, and the rest of us have to do what those people say. Essentially, those few people act as if their will were God's will. They speak on behalf of God and use it to their own advantage. This type of application of God's will is often used as an excuse to kill and take control of others. It has been the reason why terrible things have been done to so many people throughout history. The seat of God's will lies within our hearts. If our hearts are closed, we cannot do what we are supposed to do according to who we truly are. This will generate an enormous amount of anxiety within us, and we will act from a position of fear. If love is harmony, then fear is disharmony. Whenever our decision to act is based on fear, we will deviate from the blueprint of God's true nature for us. We will receive according to what we put out there, but that won't be love-based because of the fear. And in the end, we will be angry at God for not giving us what we wanted. In that moment, we have forgotten that we are co-creators of our own reality and have placed the power outside of ourselves. Religion makes us believe that if we are good according to its rules, then we are able to twist God's arm to give us what we desire. All we need to do under this system is to be good according to the particular religion's rules, and then He may give us what we want. In this sense, God is then rather like our parent. He will punish us if we do bad things and reward us if we do good. It is no wonder people shy away from divine will. Our negative images of divine will also cause confusion in us as to what the will is. We think of willpower as something we need in order to get things done, because it is hard to get things done according to God's will. There is always something or someone we have to push or get out of the way. In other words, we need to fight resistance. Will gives us the power to win over the obstacle, and within the religious system, this resistance is always seen as outside of us. All these religious ideas about divine will separate us, not only from others, but also from ourselves, and in the process, we forget who we truly are, children of the living God. These ideas are outdated and don't work for us. This way of thinking about divine will turns God into a deity who needs to check on us and keep us responsible and good, or one who provides us with short-term life insurance against the odds that life throws our way. Fortunately, we are moving into a new way of being that is based on power and responsibility from within. We come to realize that our free-willed choice at any moment is always challenged to serve our internal divine will. The degree to which we freely choose to model our divine will within, namely light, love, truth, and wisdom, is the exact degree to which we express and act according to our true self. This will is based on power from within instead of power against or over another. It is based on self-responsibility rather than on blame. It is based on freedom for all rather than control of others. In divine will, there is no place for blame or the illusion of something outside of us to fight against. In areas of our lives where we have pain and trouble, we have acted out of fear and have not followed our inner divine will. Perhaps we are confused about what we want to do with our lives because we do not truly know ourselves. When we act out of fear and do what we think will please other people, we are not doing what we truly want to do. We are being dishonest and respectful to ourselves. We may even create an apparent outside resistance to prevent us from doing what we want, but in actual fact, it is really ourselves that we fight. Other people are just stand-ins in the dramas that we create. At times, we say things that are precisely calculated to get someone else to protest so that we can get out of doing something we want because we are too afraid to risk the chance to do it. We move our focus to the issues with others, the dramas, instead of focusing on what we know we must do and on what we truly want. In the long run, it never really works because happiness will not be ours until we do what is right for us. What is right for us is that experience which brings balance and harmony to our lives. In closing, anything that causes disharmony in the original photograph is a mistake and must be corrected by light, love, truth, and wisdom. It cannot be otherwise because source is always true to the blueprint. But this correction cannot be without us paying the karmic debt, whether in this life or in the following lifetime, so that we may spiritually grow and mature. It is often this karmic debt that is interpreted as mean punishment and unfairness imposed on us by God. We cannot reach true understanding of the impact of decisions of who we truly are until we have experienced them firsthand as who we are not. It is in experiencing what we do not want that we get to know what we actually truly want and who we truly are. What you want or desire is directly proportional to who you perceive yourself to be at that moment. Now I want to ask you a question. How will you and I know that we are aligned with the divine will? There are a few questions that you can ask yourself, and if you answer yes to most of them, you know that you are on your path to true happiness and being authentically you. And the questions are, is my will or desire in this moment connected to the purpose of my life? Does my will or desire turn me in the direction of my own self-responsibility and therefore my freedom? Number 3, does my will or desire help me to open my heart to love? And the last question that we can ask, does my will or desire empower me to move forward to fill the deepest longing of my soul? Only you and God will know the questions to these answers. So I am done. Nothing more remains for me to say except, Namaste. I honor the place in you where the divine resides. I honor the place in you where the entire universe resides. I honor the place in you of light, of love, of truth, of peace and wisdom. I honor the place in you where if you and I were in that place, there is only one of us. Amen. I thank you.